Okay, the meeting should be recording now. Again, I'm Prudence Caskey. I'm the 4-H agent in Santa Rosa County, and we're going to go over just some brief stuff about the Panhandle Poultry Project, which is formerly named the Chick Chain. So if you didn't do the Chick Chain, that's okay. And if you did do the Chick Chain, we just changed the name and we've improved on it a little bit because we had the best project we could make and we have made the best better. So one of our changes we will talk about in next month's meeting when we go over the um, record book. So that's one of the changes that we made was to the record book is much smaller now. So the youth should appreciate that it is much smaller. So I threw a couple of things into the chat. I have and I'm going to share my screen and hopefully y'all can let me know whether or not you hear audio when I do this sharing. Oh my. It's not giving me any previews, but all right, one moment. It's a new to me laptop. Okay. I'm going to try this again. Yay. Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the brooder setup. And what I'm going to share with y'all is a video that I made uh, for our teachers who do embryology. And this is just a brief setup, but I am a visual person, so I wanted for y'all to be able to see how I did the brooder setup for the teachers. And just please, if you can let me know if you can hear it when I get started with a thumbs up or something like that, that would be good.
After our baby chicks hatch, we need to set them up in a brooder pen. So let me show you what that looks like. Now we're going to take a look at our brooders. We have two separate brooder pens set up, one for very young chicks, and you'll notice there's a red hue to everything in this room because of our heat lamp. These three Americana Bantams are about 4 days old, and they have their own cage. And over here we have an additional cage of older chicks. We have 3 Rhode Island Reds that you can see are drinking alongside of our Americana Bantams. The Americana Bantams are about 2 weeks older than the Rhode Island Reds. However, they are the same size. And we also have Lavender Orpingtons in here, which are the 2 gray chicks, which are also a standard breed. We feed our birds out of troughs that they can get in and scratch because chickens love to scratch. But we give them water out of a rabbit waterer. As you can see, it's much easier for them to drink out of, and it stays much cleaner. We don't have to worry about shavings getting into our water. And that is how we set up our brooders. And if we were doing this in the classroom, you would be provided with food, water, brooder, shavings. You just have to hatch your own chicks. As our baby chicks age, we need to provide for them outside. So let's take a look at their cage outside. Now we're going to take a journey outside to where the older baby chicks live. They're in a pen that you can see has mesh around it so that they can't get through. However, they're at the age now where we let them out throughout the day. And so the door stays open and they can come and go as they please. All right, as we walk back into the cage, I just wanted to show you, we do have some heat lamps that we have set up for at night for them. And this panel we close off at night. And this is where they stay. We have two separate areas for them in here. They should be sitting in the sun right now, but they're underneath the heat lamp.
Okay. I'm gonna change my share screen. Were y'all able to hear that?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
I muted.
All right, and then I want to, and attached to this meeting, you should have this document. If I can make it a little bit bigger. And I also dropped it in the chat box. So this is just a 2-sheet document for y'all to take a look at and make sure, it's a quick reference for you. You can throw it in your folder with your record book, and it'll give you some of that quick information that you're interested in. And I'm going to run through it, and then I'm going to answer any questions anybody may have. If you don't have your chicks yet, you have until October 31st to hatch them yourself, or if you prefer to buy pre-hatched chicks that somebody is going to tell you is a pullet, um, that works as well. So, the brooder that we use is just a giant Rubbermaid tub, one of those big 40 quart ones, or however big they are. The brooder I personally use at my house is a Christmas tree storage container that I got on clearance for $10. I was like, that's going to make a great brooder because it's very, very big and it's on wheels. So it works perfect. When you have your brooder, you want to make sure you provide pine shavings. Never use cedar, it's toxic. And so pine shavings about 1.5 to 2 inches deep. And many people will say, oh, you can use puppy pads or newspaper, but you run into an issue where your chicks might get what's called spraddled. And what that is where they can't stand up straight because newspaper is slick, and it will cause their little legs to come out of joint and they won't be able to walk. So that's no good. We don't want that kind of experience for our youth. So we always recommend a good bed of pine shavings. And what I do with that, because I have older chickens as well, is when I empty that out, I just throw it out into their cage, and it you can't even see it in 2 or 3 days because they bury it with the sand that's in, or the dirt that's in their cage. So pine shavings, and don't be greedy with them. Make sure they're nice and thick because the chicks will scratch. I think you may have seen in the video where the chicks were scratching in that little bowl of food. They're going to do the same thing with the pine shavings. And if you don't have enough in there, they're going to get to the bottom of that brooder box, and then we come into a slick situation again, which we don't want to have. Now, I will touch on the heat lamp, and you can do heat one of two ways. And what you could do is the red bulbed heat lamp that you saw in my videos, or you can do a heat plate. Now, the heat plate is what we use at the schools when we do embryology in the classroom, because it doesn't cast a red hue on everything. And so the kids are able to see the chicks just fine. But it also is, in my mind, a lot safer because that clamp that you have with the heat lamp, it it could fail, and then you have chicks underneath a really hot bulb, and that's no good either. So either way, other the heat plate is a little more expensive, so some people just go with that heat lamp, which is perfectly fine. It's just up to you. But you do want to use that heat bulb that is designed to go with those lamps. And you're going to decrease the temperature because when they first hatch, they're going to want it really warm to be about 95 degrees, and then it's going to come off from that. Now, if you have your chicks in your home, you want to make sure that they're not right underneath the air conditioning vent where that heat lamp is going to be battling that cold air blowing on them all the time. And if they're out in a garage or an outbuilding or something like that, you want to make sure that it's not too hot because it was 93 degrees today. So they wouldn't need a heat lamp the entire time. I would be cautionary to say, oh, you can turn the heat lamp off during the day right now because if, a summer storm could blow in and the temperature could drop. And then just keep an eye on your babies and set them up where you know it's going to be in a stable environment for them. Again, you want to have good ventilation. And what we do with the lid on our Rubbermaid tub is we cut that center part out, leave the outside frame, and then we zip tie a piece of wire to it. So it provides ventilation, but it keeps those baby chicks in there because in a matter of a week, they'll be where they can jump up and fly out of that Rubbermaid tub, and then you're chasing baby chicks all through wherever you've got them if your cat hasn't caught them first. Okay, now moving on, I want to talk about nutrition a little bit. Water is the most important nutrient you can provide for your chicks. If we have kiddos on here, I can't stress water enough. When I was raising chicks as a young 4-H'er, my dad always said, if you wouldn't drink out of it, why do you expect them to? So look at your bowls, look at your waterers, make sure that they're clean. I still to this day, I'm almost 49 years old, and I still to this day look at my waterers and go, you gotta clean that. That's not, I wouldn't drink out of that. So I always think about that. Now, the other thing about water is your chicks will eat half as much food as they have water. So if they don't have a lot of water, or if they run out of water, they're not going to eat as much food and they're not going to be as strong as they should be. So you always want to provide fresh water to them. You saw in the video, we provide our fresh water through a rabbit waterer when they're little bitty because it keeps the water clean for a longer time. So they're not able to scratch the pine shavings into their water when it's in a rabbit waterer, and they're not able to put their droppings into that waterer when it's a rabbit waterer. Because if you have a traditional waterer, you're going to face the trouble of cleaning it all the time. So a rabbit waterer is not required, but highly recommended. It's kind of a trick of the trade, if you will, so that you could have some clean water for your babies. And when you start to feed them, you're going to feed them a good starter food. Now, you'll see at the store, it'll say medicated or non-medicated. Now, that's preference. Some people prefer not to medicate their chickens. Some prefer, why not? It's kind of an antibiotic sort of thing to prevent it before it happens. And so when it says medicated, it has a coccidiosis medicine in there so that they won't get that. And that's a very common issue for chickens. So it is totally up to you. The only thing that I would stress is that it would be a starter food and it's a crumble. So the chicken's food will come in pellets as well, and the baby chicks that can't eat a pellet, it's too big for them. I mean, they will peck at it. They're not going to ingest it as much as they would if it were a crumble. And you want to make sure that you have it available all the time. They will eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. So make sure they have clean, dry food all the time. And when they get to be about 2 months old or 6 to 8 weeks old, your 4-H club leader will guide you on this, but you'll be able to tell when they're ready to go on a grower food. So you have starter, grower, and layer. Those are the different foods. You may see something called a starter grower, and you can feed that and just keep feeding that. It just depends on what your preferences are. Now, I'm going to pause just for a second before I talk about taming to see if there are any questions I may answer. Are we good? Okay. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is to learn about taming your chickens. So your goal for this program is to not only raise healthy chickens, but at one point during this process, you're going to have showmanship. And if you experience that with your bird, it's going to be a benefit because you'll be familiar with that particular breed and you'll know Lemon and all there is to know about Lemon because you've been working with this little hen or pullet for 4 or 5 months now. So, and Lemon is one of mine. Not my favorite though. So one of the things you always want to do is you want to spend some time with your baby chicks. When you get your chicks and you have them in the brooder, if you're one of the children that want to sit and read, you could do that in your bedroom easily. But you could also do that sitting next to a clear Rubbermaid tub so those baby chicks are used to seeing you all the time. And a lot of times when I get new baby chicks, I will just take about an hour every evening and I will sit out there with my arm and my hand in the pen so that they can get used to seeing my hand. They're used to seeing my hand coming at them. They know that when my hand comes at them, it's not going to be a scary situation. Sometimes it might have food in it. So you want to have the chicks get used to seeing your hands and seeing you and being touched because a lot of times when you come at a chicken and they've never been touched, you can easily tell and you don't that's not a fun chicken to have. So start early and start often with your babies when you're trying to tame them. What you want to do is as they age over about a week or two, and you'll tell that they'll grow really, really fast right before your eyes. You could start to offer little treats. So a crumbled boiled egg, you always want, if you're going to give your chickens eggs, you always want it to not look like an egg. So crumble it up. And that would be a great source of protein for them and a neat little treat for them to have as far also as mealworms or little things like that. They love and hand feeding is a great idea too. So what I will do with my chicks when I get them is before I put a big bucket of food in there that's going to be there all the time, I'll take a fistful of it and put it in my hand, and they will come over and eat out of my hand before I fill their feeder back up for them. So that's a good way, again, for them to not be scared of your hands. And night petting is what I do with my older chickens. So as they age and they get to where they're going to be on a roost and you're going to be outside with them, I go out every time I close my coop because mine free range. And I pet on and touch them so that they know that, okay, she touched me, but it's not a horrible thing. Nothing bad happened. I'm able to still be here. Everything's fine. And I mean, I don't know if they reason that much. I doubt it, but they do get used to your hands, and that's one of the best ways to do it because their eyesight is not real good at night, and so it helps to they won't run away because they can't really see that great. So that's another trick of the trade. And when you pick up your chicks, you'll learn how to do this when we get into getting ready for the show at the Poultry Perfection Workshop. But handling how you handle the chicks, you always want to handle them on their chest and make sure that their feet are supported because they're not used to having their feet not on the ground. Their feet are usually pretty much always on the ground. So that will give them some anxiety if they don't have anything on the bottom of their feet. So usually when I hold mine, I put my hand or put them up against my body so that they can put their feet on my stomach so that they're a little more comfortable there. And we don't have any that are big enough to go outside. Outside will be around the end of October, November time frame, depending on when your babies hatch. But when you transition them to outside, you want to make sure that they are fully feathered. So they're going to go through a time that I call the ugly stage. And that is where they're halfway feathered and halfway fuzzy. If you've ever raised chickens, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But they're going to go through this ugly stage. They should do that in the house. So, and the reason for that is that even in November, we'll still have mosquitoes out. And mosquitoes will find that little bit of skin that is not protected by a feather, and then that's how we get fowl pox. So fowl pox is not like chicken pox in humans. It's not transferable between the two, but it is fowl pox is a disease that's transmitted by mosquitoes. And of course, because we're in Florida, that's a concern for us. So we have to make sure that we protect those baby chicks. If you have your baby chicks outside, uh, during the day, and at dusk you bring them and put them back in the brooder uh, before they're fully feathered, that would be the best practice. And I did that for about 2 weeks with the ones that I have now. The ones I have now are about right at 2 months old. So they're staying outside all the time and they're fully feathered. And so that's as you transition them to going outdoors, your club leader will probably work with you about how to do that. And again, you can put them outside during uh, the day and then bring them in and make sure that your coop, we're going to go over that next month because they won't be in an outdoor coop yet. And so next month, we're going to go over predator proofing your coop and making sure you have shade and weather protection and how ventilated it is. Again, you want to make sure there's airflow for them. And as I scroll down to this little tips sheet I've got, we're wanting to, as we have our baby chicks, we want to keep an eye on them. Again, we have this is not a throw them in the brooder and look at them once a week kind of project. This is a daily, morning, afternoon, night, maybe not afternoon, they can go to school. So they have, you want to make sure that your baby chicks aren't sleeping all the time. Now, when they first are in their first week, you're going to see them sleeping because they're tired, they're growing, they got a lot going on, especially if you hatch them yourself. They've had a big day. They're very tired. That's the hardest work they've ever done their whole entire life. And so they're going to lay down and they're tired. So let them sleep. But if they're a week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks old, and they're laying down all the time, that might be cause for concern. So keep an eye on that. Also, you want to make sure there is such a thing as a pecking order. So I've got on here injuries or bullying. If you end up getting 5 or 6 chicks and they're in one cage, they might decide that one is the bottom of the rung. So we're going to pick on that one. So just keep an eye on that. If you have that situation, you can contact your 4-H agent or your club leader to get some help with how to help protect that baby chick. The other thing that's important to look for is pasty butt. And I know that sounds like a weird thing, but here's what's going on with the butt is you have a baby chick who poops. We all poop. So baby chick poops, they have this very fine feather right by their butt, and a little bit of poop sticks to that. Okay. A little bit's okay. If that builds up, it's going to snowball, if you will, and it will create a covering, and then the baby chick gets sick because it can't poop anymore. So you always want to look. I know it's a funny thing to talk about chicken butts. However, it's important. So you always want to make sure and look and make sure that they're healthy. If you find one that has pasty butt, all you do is you put some warm water on a paper towel and clean the baby chick. You do not want to wash the baby chick at this point. You want to just make sure that it's clean. As they grow up and they start to feather, then you won't have that as an issue. But when they're little bitty, that can be an issue that pops up very easy. Okay, so the next tip I have is the website is in the chat, and I'm going to send this email out to your 4-H agents and your club leaders so that they have the website and this fact sheet as well. But you're also on the website. I'm going to go to the website here in just a sec. Let me stop sharing this. And then I'm going to try and share. the website. All right, just bear with me. I appreciate your patience. Okay, so this is the Panhandle Poultry Project, formerly known as Chick Chain website. And each of these little tabs have information for you. This talks about what our breed list is, and I will go over the breeds just for a little bit. Now, the breeds, these are what are recommended, not what is required. Okay. If you have a neighbor or a friend, or maybe your child is returning and their particular breed is not on this list, that is okay. It is perfectly fine for you to bring a different breed if that is what you prefer. It's okay. The only thing is, make sure, because this show is judged as an American Poultry Association breed standard show. And so what you need to do is make sure that the breed that you choose is an APA breed. And you can just Google that and get that list. I will let you know any of the and if you're ordering from a hatchery, it's gonna say this is a Rhode Island Red mixed with a white leghorn and we call it an Isa Brown, or this is Plymouth Rock mixed with a leghorn and we call it a red star or a black star or whatever their patented name is for this breed that they've created. So you want to make sure that the breed you pick is one that is standard. Easter eggers are not Americanas. Okay, so an Americana is a breed that lays blue, green, pink eggs. Easter eggers is a breed that is mixed an Americana with a leghorn to increase the production of blue, green, pink eggs. But that particular chicken, as fun as they are, and I have 7 of them, they will not be able to be shown. They will lay you some great eggs and they'll be beautiful, but they won't be able to be shown. If you have questions about what breed to get, just reach out. Your 4-H agent, myself, your club leader can all of those people can help you and in a pinch, or you can go back to this website and look at these. These are the ones that you're going to have at your feed store. These are the normal, quote unquote, normal ones that they will have. The only one that we don't have on this list that's a very common one as well is a leghorn. And you can certainly show a leghorn, no problem. Now, I will warn you, we don't have leghorns on this list because they're a little more flighty breed. And what I mean by that is they're crazy. So they will jump and fly and run away from you. And no matter how many mealworms you try to feed them, they won't even, that's who they are. That's their personality. I have had some 4-H kids surprise me and raise leghorns that they could tote around. And I was so thoroughly impressed with it because leghorns traditionally are very flighty. So you want to pick your breed. Now, when it says any variety, what that means is their color pattern. So, for instance, with Orpingtons can be black, white, buff. In lavender is not an approved APA variety, but it is very common. So I have seen lavender Orpingtons at this show and they were not disqualified. I will tell you that. So you can have any variety of Wyandotte. Again, like with the Orpingtons, everybody will usually say Barred Rock because Plymouth Rocks also come in white, but 99% of the time they're barred. That's their color variety. So if you hear somebody say, oh, it's a barred rock, it's a Plymouth Rock that is barred. That's the variety of it. And also, the two that go together is a Buff Orpington. So you will hear a lot of people say, oh, we have Buff Orpingtons. Okay. You have an Orpington that is a buff, and Orpingtons come in all sorts of varieties, as well as like the Sussex. They come in a few different varieties as well. So Just make sure that your variety is APA qualified. Again, please reach out if you're thinking about getting a specific breed and you're not real sure. And the APA has been really good about posting their new, because as their new standards every year, because as we mix and gum the different color varieties, they add after about 10 or 20 years, they'll say, oh yeah, lavender is something you can breed for. So we want to have that. And that'll be an improved color variety. So this is our website, Care and Nutrition. The fact sheet that I just uploaded to will be uploaded to this website very soon. And then you've got videos. Now this video looks like it's corrupted, but if you click on it, it will play. So don't be afraid of that. And then this lady talks greatly about how to predator proof your coop, which is vital because everything likes chicken. So if you have ever raised chicken, you will know everything likes chicken. And so the next thing I wanted to show is the record book was one of my last tips, and the record books are here. Now we have a Clover Bud record book for our 5, 6, 7-year-old kiddos, and then our junior, intermediate, senior record book is the same record book. So I'm going to click on that so that y'all can see a little bit of the changes that we've made. And we have the main pages, our information with the signatures. This is going to be where we bought our chickens, where we bought our brooder box and our chicken cage and whatever we had, and any expenses for food. This tells us income. So let's say you bought 10 baby chicks, you get your project going and you decide I can do this project with 3 baby chicks. So you sell 7 of them, that information would go here. And we have the final financial summary is just you're pulling all your numbers down. Now, this sheet here, you may or may not fill out. This is your production sheet. Now, if you have chicks that you're keeping for production from last year, you're going to record each day how many eggs you got. Like today, I have 10 laying hens, and those lousy things gave me 2 eggs. So I would put a 2 here at September 4th and be upset about it. So yesterday I got 7. They were a little better. But so this is your egg sheet. If you are only raising babies and don't have any production, there may be a possibility that in February or March you might have some numbers here if your girls start laying. So, but if not, you can just write up here, nobody's laying, or write an X on it and say nobody laid. Now, you need to include at least 3 pictures with captions. And we have these pages for that. And then this is a survey. So this is going to take place, and I know my 4-Hers are going to be thrilled about this, but this survey is going to take place of the story. So we have here project pictures where you can show us what happened, and this is how you're going to tell us about your project. So you're going to either yes, sort of, or no on these 14 questions, and that's going to give us an idea of what you learned, and that way you don't have to sit there and stress with your mother or father over a story. So we've made this a much more streamlined. You can see it's only 7 pages long. And so it's a much more streamlined record book. And again, we don't want it in a binder or punched holes in or scrapbooked or anything like that. We just want it stapled in the top left corner. And I would recommend that you start working on this the day you get your chicks, because the show is March 28th. And so they would be due, let's say March 20th. Your record books will be due. If you're working on this March 19th, this is not going to be a fun project for you. I'm just telling you, it'll be boring. It'll be worse than screaming, everybody screaming at the house. It'll be terrible. You don't want that. So start working on it day one. And as you have your expenses, when you get your feed, you want to put all that into a folder, and you don't have to turn receipts in, but it'll help you when it comes time to calculate the final numbers. And if you didn't put all your receipts in, then you'll have your receipts. So keep all that together. I am going to go back to the website. Again, I put this in the chat, and I want to just very fast, because we are running out of time, um, touch on the knowledge test. So we have in the past had a skillathon, and we're going to go over this a little bit more as in the next months of these meetings. But this knowledge test is going to replace our skillathon. So we're not going to have the laptops that we stress over, and can we get internet, and can we sign into them, and can we this, and can we that. We're not going to have that. We're going to have good old-fashioned paper tests, y'all. And we're going to take this test, and Tiffany Collier is going to help me grade it. And I'm kidding, Tiffany. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be designed where you're going to bubble in a Scantron sheet on the side of the page, so that we can just lay our sheet over top, highlight if it's not there. That's how we're going to grade, like they used to do way back in the day. And so that's how it's going to be designed. But I'm going to click on the Intermediate and Senior Study Guide, just so that you can see a little bit about what it looks like. So these are some of the things that our intermediates will need to know. Again, this is all on the website. Now, don't lose your mind. Stay with me, y'all, because I know there's a lot of things pointing at all the parts of these chickens. You're not going to have to know all of those. You're going to have to know some of those, but I found these graphics, and I thought they were an excellent way for you to help prepare for showmanship, because it will allow you to point. Instead of saying the dangly thing under his chin, you can say waddle. Instead of saying his leg, you could say his shank, that sort of thing. You'll have the proper terminology. And then as we go through, we're going to have some basic knowledge questions, nutrition and feeding, and then our intermediates and seniors are going to have some questions about biosecurity. And the test is going to be pulled straight from the study guide. So if they look at this, they will be able to do it. We're not trying to get you in a bind. We want to help you learn. That's what is our goal. And then of course I'm going to click on, just real quick, the Cloverbud study guide and the juniors is going to be a lot more pared down. And it said I raised my hand because I went like that. That's funny. So it's going to be more pared down, and they won't have to know quite as much. We did keep the biosecurity information in there because it is important. And we want all of our youth to understand how important biosecurity is. So we'll go back to this. This is where you're going to get your record book. We're going to talk about showmanship, avian ventures, photography, and show day in the upcoming meetings. But I'm going to stop right there. And our upcoming meetings, I'm going to see if I can copy this and throw it in the chat. We're going to meet the first Thursday evening and of October, November, December, and February and March. So we decided not to do a meeting in January because that particular first Thursday night is New Year's Day. So since it was a holiday, we decided to skip that. But I did want to take a little bit of time and answer any questions that you may have. I know if you're returning 4-H'er to this project, we've changed a little bit of stuff and hopefully for the better. Hopefully you wouldn't rather have a 17-page record book versus a 7-page record book. But any questions that I may answer, I'm going to turn it over to y'all now.
Hi, I have a question. Um, so I'm wondering, my daughter's a returning 4-H'er and she showed last year, would she be able to, instead of buying new chicks, would she be able to show the ones that she bought for it last year?
So yes, we have a production class, so she can continue with those hens in that production class. But we do encourage a lot of our youth, even though they have birds from last year, they'll get biddies again and raise them up, and you can show both classes if she would like to do that, because that's an option as well. So if she wanted to show both classes, she could do that, but she can also come back as a production in the production class.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Are there any other questions I may answer? Can they show? Oh, this is the question, always the question. Okay, can they show? I saw it pop up, but I tried to click on it. Okay, can they show roosters as well as just hens? Okay, so this is not a pullet show. However, if you have a pullet, we would prefer you to show the pullet. But we have had roosters or cocks shown at, well, they would be cockerels because they're not a year old. But so the cockerels and the pullets are able to be shown both. So this is an APA show. They're going to judge that bird on APA standards for a cockerel of that particular breed. So to answer your question, yes, they do have the option to bring a rooster in, or a cockerel in, and we actually had, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before. We had to have a cage that he was traveling in because we didn't have a cage big enough for Elvis. So Elvis was a quite large Rhode Island red cockerel that was at the show, and he was a beautiful, beautiful bird. And so that youth decided that was the bird they wanted to bring, and he was very well behaved gentleman. He was excellent. So they can bring cockerels as well as pullets to the show. Okay, and I don't see anything else in the chat. Again, I'm going to be sending the link to the website is in the chat. I will send that out when I send out this video, as well as the baby chick care sheet that I went over this evening. If there are no further questions, I'm just going to again remind you our next meeting is going to be, I'm sorry, I just saw something in the chat. Uh, our next meeting is going to be October 2nd, and we have a question. Lily, I think you can show an Icelandic. But if they are an APA standard, that would be the only thing, and I do not know that off the top of my head. Lily, can you tell me what county you're in, and I can get that information to your agent? Unless you know they're okay, Wakala. That's Miss Rachel. Okay, Icelandic. Do you know whether or not they're an APA standard breed? I do not know. I'm not familiar. You got me. We don't know. Okay, we're gonna find out. You stumped me. Ayla says it doesn't look like they are. She's Johnny on the spot. She just looked online. Okay. All right. I'm gonna confirm with that with my judges, Lily Johnson, Wakulla County, and we will get back with you. Is that what you are raising, or did you just see them online and want to raise them? Do you already have these chicks? Is my question. We're waiting for a reply. Where they're raising multiples but have different breeds. Okay, so Lily, what you're going to want to do is look up the American Poultry Association and breed standards and check the breeds that you're raising. Ayla has put a link. Ayla, thank you. Has put a link in the chat with the accepted breeds and varieties by the APA. So that will help you decide, Ayla, for what, excuse me, Lily, for what breeds you want to show. Okay. Are there any other, I'm going to click that link so that I have that for my notes. Are there any other questions I can answer for y'all? The next meeting is going to be the first Thursday in October, and I can't believe it's already almost October. I feel like it was Easter yesterday. I just don't know where the year went. This one flew by. Okay. All right. Well, I will, it has flown by. So I will go ahead and post this video on our site, and then we can meet y'all next month. And I believe record books is what we're talking about next month. But we're always going to talk about care and nutrition and making sure everybody's healthy. And we're always here to answer your questions. So if you have a question, my email is just going to be my name at ufily is how we say it. So it's at ufl.edu. If you have a question, that's my email address. And or you can touch base with your county agent or your club leader, and we can get that information to you. All right. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a good night.